Xylophones. We're doing Everything is Sacred. Jane? Hey, Levi, can you get Jane?
We're doing Everything is Sacred.
Yes. All right, here we go. Good morning, everyone. Please join us in song.
Everything is sacred.
Everything is sacred.
Everything is filled with the divine. Everything is alive with spirit, with spirit. Everything is a wonder.
Everything is a wonder.
Everything right before our eyes. Everything is alive with spirit, with spirit. Everything is a blessing.
Everything is a blessing.
Bursting from the earth and sky. Everything is alive with spirit, with spirit. Everyone is sacred.
Everyone is sacred.
Everyone is filled with the divine. Everyone is alive with spirit, with spirit. Everything is sacred.
Everything is sacred.
Everything is filled with the divine. Everything is alive with spirit, with spirit. Everything is a wonder.
Everything is a wonder.
Unfolding right before our eyes. Everything is alive with spirit, with spirit. Everything is a blessing.
Everything is a blessing.
Bursting from the earth and sky. Everything is alive with spirit, with spirit. Everyone is sacred. Spirit. Everyone is sacred.
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 Good morning and welcome to Common Thread. We're glad you're here. And if you are a newcomer or a first-time visitor, please, we'd love to give you a special welcome. You will see on the slide we have a QR code as well as a place in the website. If you, on your own terms, at your own leisure, decide you would like to be welcomed into the community on a more personal level, we've created a welcome email. It will give you information about the community and as well as link you up with some people who'd love to hang out, maybe take you out for a cup of coffee, answer your questions. So please do that if you are so moved. We have a very interesting, diverse, rich schedule and lineup today. Very rich, interesting schedule and lineup today. For example, if you'll notice over there, we had carved out a special place for the teens because we are doing Taizé today, and I would like the teens to learn to do that. But most of our teens are in the band, so they're all down here. But you will, you will see them later on. We also have an interesting flyer that we'll be handing out later. We're calling this Club Day Light. So back in September, we did a full version of Club Day. All of the leaders of our various groups sit up here and are open up the room to questions. You learn about the ways to get involved. Today, the teens will be passing out the flyer because in January we do a light version of that. Make sure that people who have entered the community since September are aware of all of these various activities and events we have going on. We also have Cherie with us today. Cherie will be delivering an interesting talk to us about Braver Angels, which is an organization that our church has been pretty heavily involved in within the last year or so. And as you probably know, we've got a year coming up in America where in spiritual journey, peace, fellowship, and friendship will come in handy this year. So we're glad you're here for that. As you see on the slide behind me, How Are You Doing is our way of reminding you that as a church, what comes first for us is standing together during our tough days. So again, if you use the QR code or if you go to the website, you will discover that there are a number of people in our community who would love to stand with you during those tough days, take you out for a cup of coffee, sit with you during the ceremony, during our services, during Sundays. But also we have, for example, John Cyber is here today as a representative from a group. So if during the service or if after the service you would like to sit with someone, we may not be able to fix problems for each other, but we can certainly be present together while we listen and we show each other the solidarity, the fellowship. So John will be in the library after the service. He'll wait for 10 or 15 minutes, and if you would like to have some private time, a shoulder to lean on, John is available today. So let us say, as we do each week together, if you are here, you belong. If you are here, you belong. We are, every one of us, carriers of the inner light. We are, every one of us, carriers of the inner light. We are, every one of us, carriers of divine breath. We are, every one of us, carriers of divine breath. Thank you. So, I would like to invite you to stand and greet one another this morning as we prepare for our musical celebration this morning.
Absolutely.
Needed to do that before church actually started and did good times.
I understand. I don't know. I'll bring people back one.
And as you're being
All right, all present.
and as you're being seated, we will begin. God teach us to be one.
All right, here we go. One. From the mountains to the shore,
God teach us to be one.
with the homeless and the poor.
God teach us to be one.
When our sense of hope is strong,
God teach us to be one.
when our strength is almost gone.
God teach us to be one. God teach us to be one. God teach us to be one.
May
Unity shine like the sun through everyone.
When we cry to you in prayer,
God teach us to be one.
when we don't believe you're there,
God teach us to be one.
when we feel your gentle hand,
God teach us to be one.
when we just don't understand.
God teach us to be one. God teach us to be one. God teach us to be one. May unity shine like the sun through everyone.
When we're walking in the light,
God teach us to be one.
when our hearts are dark as night,
God teach us to be one.
when we get what we desire,
God teach us to be one.
when we're going through the fire.
God teach us to be one. God teach us to be one. God teach us to be one. May unity shine like the sun through everyone.
Well, good morning, everyone. Isn't it wonderful to have our sound working, our live stream working, and our screen working? It was like the Grinch stole Christmas up in here last week. But again, thank you to our people, to Cameron, to Cherie, to Jack, and an extra dose of thanks to Gene, who spent his entire Saturday morning here yesterday to make things work. And we sometimes forget, all that it takes to make Sundays go. The last week gave us such a good reminder of what it takes. Talented people who love our community. So let's give our friends another round of applause. I think they really deserve it. Thank you. And speaking of applause and speaking of friends, our theater friends have been very kind and appropriately contrite about what happened last week. It was a lot of havoc. But we're a forgiving and a loving group here. So if you're looking for a fun night out, I do hope you'll consider attending their production of Twelfth Night. It sounds like it's a really good show. The tickets are priced as low as free. South Stream Productions is the company, but please do go to their website to get tickets so they know who's coming. Showtimes are 7:30 on Friday and Saturday nights and 4 p.m. on Sundays through January 25th. So Working the Circle is what we call it here at Common Thread. It's our way of talking about the integration of spiritual practices in our lives. Those that are focused on learning, those that are focused on serving, those that are focused on being contemplative, and particularly, as we're gathered here today, on being together, doing these things together. I think our teens have the handouts that we're going to distribute right now for this handout here. Have you got those? If you guys would get up and kindly distribute these to folks. Heather mentioned this earlier. Jen put this together to reflect the work that she and Kate have done to get all our events and groups on the calendar over the next few months. And I encourage you to take a look and see where you have the bandwidth to grow spiritually this quarter. Today, I'd like to draw your attention in particular to the life group story formation scheduled for February 11th. Of all our offerings, this one seems deceptively simple. You get together with a group of people over a period of weeks or months, and each person simply tells their life story. Some of the strongest friendships in this community have been forged in a life story group. And of course, you can never do enough of these if you have the time, because there's always new stories to hear, new relationships to build, and we tend to tell our stories differently every time, and we learn stuff about ourselves while we do it. So, February 11th, we're going to form these groups. And in the meantime, as you can see in this document, there are so many things to be a part of here. Thanks again to Kate and Jen for getting this together for us. Folks on the live stream, you can go to the app or the website to find this list, as can any of us in this room should we misplace these flyers. But you're not going to misplace these flyers. You're going to go put them on your refrigerator. You're going to put them, and you're going to get yourself signed up for some things. All right, so we got a few announcements to make here this morning. Those of you online, we will have What Are You Thinking on Zoom after the service. Those of you in town, Brew Crew meets this afternoon at 4 o'clock at the Riparian, which is just around the corner from last month's Brew Crew at Trophy. Tuesday evening, join us here for a group screening of the film 1946. Next Saturday, the 13th, the artsy group will meet downstairs in the morning, and in the afternoon, it's not on this slide, but folks will meet up for the Umstead Park hike that was postponed from yesterday on account of the rain. And the next day, come early for centering prayer at 9:15 in our contemplative room down the hall. That'll be followed by our elementary move-up ceremony, and we hope you will be with us to celebrate our kids. And following the service, we will have our drop-in self-awareness group. They meet down the hall, room 209, I think. So I mentioned this film last week, 1946. And if you didn't know, the word homosexual was never in any translation of any Bible anywhere until the year before my mother was born. And it's been a lightning rod ever since, as we all know. And how it all came to be is a fascinating story. So I hope you can come out and join us for the film and a discussion afterwards on Tuesday night. But if you can't, you can also Google the film and stream it at home anytime before January 14th. It won't be available after then until they decide to do some other sort of distribution model. Not sure what that's going to be. So, if you want more details about any of the things that I just ran through, you can always find out more one of three ways. Check the app, go to our website, or if you haven't already, subscribe to our weekly email and it will come to you. So we've been talking for a couple of months now about our budget, about giving intentions, about where our dollars go in this community. And every time I hear Doug get up here and say, we are working toward becoming an average church, it cracks me up. We know this place is about as far from average as a church can be, and we like it that way. Of course, what he means is we want to move toward getting our giving to the level of the average for a church our size. And we have 38 very promising submissions at this link on this QR code here. And we know not everybody is comfortable declaring their intentions this way, but if you are comfortable doing it and you haven't done it yet, your stated intentions for the year will help us budget and plan for a small but appropriately compensated team of leaders to move Common Thread into the next phase of our life together. So we greatly appreciate having this information. Remember, an investment in this spiritual community is a good one, and I'm convinced it's only going to keep getting better. When we give our time, our efforts, and the dollars required to make it all go, the community takes these gifts, amplifies them, and gives them back to us in the form of a space in which we can all spiritually thrive, this space. So thank you. So you may or may not be familiar with the Taizé community. They're an ecumenical Christian monastic fraternity in France. They've been around for several decades now. And one of the things for which they are famous is as the originators of a particular kind of meditative chant in the form of easily accessible short songs with repetitive lines. And since it is a kind of meditative practice, singing Taizé chants can, if we let them, enable us to access and inhabit the reality of the divine within our being. Joe, Melissa, Shelby, Anna, and Levi are going to lead us in a Taizé chant this morning with three-part harmony, and you are encouraged to join in and sing whichever part speaks to you as soon as you feel you've gotten the hang of it. But before we do the chant, we will take a few minutes to get settled and grounded. Joe will play a little music in the background. I'm going to offer a prayer, and then we're going to try something a little different this morning. I'm going to invite any of you in this room who has something going on in your life for which you are grateful, or something that is presently hard, to share that with us if you are so inclined, so that we might share in your gratitude and or hold you in our collective hearts. Now, Jack's going to be around with a microphone, so just raise your hand if you'd like to speak your intentions out loud after I say the prayer and invite you. And for the sake of our folks on the live stream in particular, Jean has asked us to be intentional with our voices. So if you have the mic, please hold it directly in front of your mouth and speak clearly. But even if you hold your intentions silently in your heart, just know that we are all holding each other's intentions collectively in our hearts as a community, as a spiritual community of people who love each other. And when we're through with that part of the program, Melissa will begin to lead us in chant. So I invite you to all take a few deep breaths and find a comfortable place in your bodies. Indwelling divine, we come together in the spirit of profound interconnectedness through this common thread that binds us as a community. We consent to your divine presence within us and among us, to the inner light which flows through every soul in this sacred space. We embrace both the light and the shadow within ourselves and within one another. And we celebrate the sacred dance of joy and sorrow, knowing that it is in such paradox that we discover the depth of our shared humanity and the infinite nature of divine love. And I'd like to invite you now, if you have something on your heart that you would like to share, to raise your hand and Jack will run a microphone over to you so that you can share with the group. And know that there is no pressure to do any such thing. We can absolutely hold our intentions silently in our hearts.
Cynicism when I feel a rising sense of despair, because cynicism comes quickly to me, and I'd like to hold that intention this year.
It's my intention this year to try new things and actually follow through with them and yeah, stay open-minded about what I find.
indwelling divine, may we hold these intentions spoken aloud and the ones we hold silently in our hearts, collectively in love as we, in our oneness together, strive to be a beacon of light, radiating the inclusive and expansive love that transcends all boundaries here in this room and far beyond these walls. Amen.
Laudate omnes gentes, laudate Dominum, 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 laudate omnes gentes, laudate Dominum. Sing praises, all you people. Sing from the inner light. Sing praises, all you people. Sing with the sweet divine. Sing praises, all you people. Sing of the love so grand. Laudate Dominum.
So if you are a fan of the On Being podcast, then you know Krista Tippett, who is the author of a favorite book of Maria's and mine called Becoming Wise. And in it she writes, "I can disagree with your opinion, it turns out, but I can't disagree with your experience. And once I have a sense of your experience, you and I are in relationship, acknowledging the complexity in each other's position, listening less guardedly. The difference in our opinions will probably remain intact, but it no longer defines what is possible between us." Cherie Vodicka is someone who does not let differences of opinion define what is possible between her and others. She has been a member of the Common Thread community for about 10 years now, and is a Braver Angels volunteer who leads CTC's efforts in bridging the political divide by bringing Braver Angels resources to our community. She is also the individual responsible for saving the live stream last week, and she has been known to break out in song up here after speaking to us. I don't know if she's going to do that today, but it's lovely when she does. She's also my friend who, as an Enneagram 1, sees the things that need to be fixed and is therefore a natural advocate for positive social change. She's going to speak to us today about unifying through our diversity. Welcome, Cherie.
You're dismissed. Though you can hang out if you want to. We would love to have you. All right. Well, good morning, everyone. It's so good to see you, and Happy New Year. Today, we are embarking on a journey of exploration into the intersection, delving into the intersection of belonging and politics. As you heard Sue say, I am spearheading efforts in our community to help us navigate this space using the resources provided by Braver Angels, which, as she said, is a nonprofit, cross-partisan, volunteer-led movement whose mission is to bridge the political divide. And let's see, I'm going to advance this slide so you can, So Braver Angels is making a big impact in our nation, bringing together those on all sides of all aisles to engage in productive civic dialogue. And I invite you, if you haven't already, to explore what Braver Angels has to offer by clicking that QR code, visiting the website, and join our Braver Angels group here at CTC through our Church Center app. So let's begin. So in the fabric of our lives, the intersection of politics and belonging weave together to shape our identities, influence our relationships, and impact our communities. Each of us, and not just those of us in this room, but the larger us, are carriers of the inner light, as you've heard us say this morning, and are called to navigate this complex landscape of politics as part of our collective lives overall, with grace, humility, and a commitment to fostering unity in diversity. At the core of our being, we carry a deep-seated desire for connection and belonging. This innate desire is woven into the very fabric of our humanity. From the dawn of time, humans have sought tribes, families, and communities to share life's joys and to navigate its challenges. When we don't have that sense of belonging or connection, we become like ships without helms. We are lost at sea. Now, social psychologists will tell you that feeling left out or like you don't belong triggers the same neural networks that fire when you experience physical pain. They call this social pain. And this pain is so hurtful that our drive to seek relief is as strong as our desire to drink when we're thirsty, eat when we're hungry. On the contrary, when we feel like we belong, we become more compassionate, more tolerant, less prone to hostility or even violence. In his book, Belonging, The Science of Creating Connections and Bridging Divides, Dr. Jeffrey Cohen argues that we are in a crisis of belonging. So he's worked in the social psychology field for decades and just penned this book a few years ago to proffer tips on how to help us, with very simple strategies, foster connection and belonging, as he's seeing the uptick we are all seeing in isolation and loneliness. I'm going to dive more deeply into his work in a few minutes, but I want to start first with a couple of scholars, Dr. Robert Putnam and Shaylin Romney Garrett. They've just written a book called The Upswing. It actually came out during the pandemic, that examines forces at play in the troubling trends we are experiencing today, with not only political division and polarization, but economic inequality, social isolation, and cultural self-centeredness that are the hallmarks of our current state. Now, if Putnam's name sounds familiar, he penned the book Bowling Alone, which came out a number of years ago, in which he examined the rise in loneliness and distrust of one another since the turn of the 21st century. In that book, he discovered that rather than joining churches and social clubs and sports leagues, we are kind of staying to ourselves. These are places where we would have built social capital, which is what you need to have in order to feel connected and belong in a community, and to rely on people for times when times are troublesome. And so we don't have that same social capital now, because we are commuting alone in our own cars. We zone out on Netflix. We attend church in our jammies. No discredit to anyone who's not here this morning, but we attend church in our jammies and watch it online if we attend at all. You know, church attendance is way, way down. So even our homes are built now with the garages out front, so you literally can pull into your garage and never see your neighbors if you don't want to. So Putnam and Garrett have scored multiple obscure data sets and discovered that over the past century or so, 4 forces have caused a climb and then a fall back to pre-upswing levels of economic disparity, social cohesion, and cultural solidarity that mirror each other in astonishing ways. And I know that might be really kind of difficult to see, at least I can't see it. But there are 4 things on this chart. There's economics, politics, society, and culture. And you can see how the upswing, we started out as very individualistic society, out only for ourselves, moved more toward in the 60s, being all in it together, and now we have reached a level of individualistic thinking and culture, such that we are now at our highest levels of polarization since the Civil War. So where we stand today is that we have this polarization. I'm going to go back to the books. And we have such extreme social isolation now that our own Surgeon General, Dr. Vivek Murthy, issued an advisory, which is very unusual, actually, for Surgeon Generals to do that. But he issued an advisory because we are in such a state of social isolation. And he is quoted as saying, "Given the significant health consequences of loneliness and isolation, we must prioritize building social connection the same way we have prioritized other critical public health issues, such as tobacco, obesity, and substance use disorders. Together, we can build a country that's healthier, more resilient, less lonely, and more connected." Sadly, 1 in 5 Americans suffer from chronic loneliness, and this is only made worse by this growing cancer of distrust that we have of each other in our country. Distrust of others' desire to destroy our country or take away our liberties only fuels this epidemic of loneliness. This is where Jesus' teachings of love, compassion, and radical inclusivity challenges us to extend our sense of belonging beyond the familiar boundaries of our families, our political and social identities, and our faith community. Today's polarization in political discourse creates fractures within communities and families. The danger lies in allowing our political affiliations to overshadow our shared identity as carriers of the inner light. We must acknowledge the challenges posed by differing political views and seek ways to bridge the gaps, fostering an environment where diverse perspectives can coexist. This can only happen by identifying common values, sharing our stories, listening deeply, and hang on one second, I just messed something up. Okay. I lost my place because I hit something and another thing came up. Okay. So I'm going to start here. Just as our community is composed of diverse members with unique gifts and callings, our political landscape encompasses a multitude of perspectives. Embracing this diversity requires humility, empathy, and a commitment to listen deeply and learn. As we engage in political conversations, or even just plain old everyday conversations, let us approach them with open hearts and minds, recognizing the richness that comes from hearing the stories and experiences of others. And you have an amazing opportunity to do that by joining Life Story groups coming up in February. In so doing, we model the love and acceptance that Christ demonstrates in his interactions with people from all walks of life. Now, the tricky thing is, neuroscience tells us that hearing and reading opposing views of any kind threatens our sense of belonging to the tribe we associate with, and our sense of self by extension. It's human nature to shut down opposing views. This happens in the person it happens to you, and it happens to the person you're talking to as well. And it helps to remember that this reaction is all based in biology. Your body is wired to do that because it feels threatened. So you can't help it, and neither can they. And when we or anyone else read information challenging our long-held political beliefs or our religious beliefs or any other beliefs, our physical threat response ratchets up, and same thing happens to them. When they read information and when we read information that affirms our beliefs, we feel safe, and it activates our reward systems. So paying attention to and remembering that a lot of this is based in biology is really helpful. The thing is, we fear that by accepting an opposing view, this could threaten being accepted by our own tribe. And being outcast from our own tribe would have meant certain death back in prehistoric days. Unfortunately, our brains still perceive this to be true, even though we live in a much safer place. The process of adhering so closely to these political ideals that we hold is irrational, unconscious, and no amount of positioned arguments are going to change yours or anyone else's minds. The only thing that can change people's hearts and minds is direct lived experience, walking a mile in someone else's shoes. But there's hope. We can develop some skills to be able to do this. So I'm going to tell you a little story that was relayed in the book Belonging by Dr. Jeffrey Cohen. This happened in 2017, not long after obviously the 2016 election. Some researchers worked with some canvassers to go door to door and talk with voters in one of the most politically conservative regions in Florida about a new law that was about to be repealed or passed that would protect those with in the LGBTQ plus community and protect them from discrimination. So instead of going door to door and presenting a slate of arguments, these canvassers made very few direct arguments. In fact, what they did was they put voters in an empowered role by telling them that they would soon face an important decision and that they had the option of voting to overturn or uphold a law that would protect the rights of the LGBTQ community. They then asked the voters for their opinion on the issue first. The canvassers were trained to not express judgment, to not express displeasure, but just to listen carefully and ask questions for clarification such as, can you say more about that? Or tell me more. And they maintained eye contact, they smiled when appropriate, they kept their bodies oriented toward the voter, gave the voters space to express their views and explore their thoughts, and they listened with authentic curiosity, which made the voters feel affirmed and like their perspectives were important. The canvassers then showed a brief video of an actual transgender person telling their story and the struggles that they live day to day. The canvassers then asked for the voters' reaction to the video by asking them, "Judgment happens to everyone at some point, and it hurts. Can you tell me about a time when you have felt judged or were treated differently for who you are?" Now, if the voters said they'd never experienced this, then they said, "Do you know someone who has experienced something like this?" So, cutting to the chase, the results were very positive, with most of the voters telling a story about a time that they had felt judged and how they could empathize with the person in the story. And most then also went on to state their support for a policy that would uphold transgender rights. Now remember, this is an extremely conservative area of Florida where they're talking to people. And what they then also, the researchers went back 3 months later and did a survey to ask those same voters how they felt. And those same voters still upheld the positive view of supporting the laws that would uphold the rights for the transgender community, even after 3 months. I think what that story conveys is that we can learn skills to be like those canvassers, to learn how to help the people we're interacting with feel like they are important, that they belong, that their views are important to us, their stories are important to us, and that we can listen without judgment. They are, after all, also carriers of the inner divine. This provides the safety people need to feel that their sense of belonging won't be snatched away from them. Being affirming that you can see how they might have arrived at their views also helps. Then we can share our views using phrases such as "I think," "I feel," or "what I have experienced is," and we can share authentically and vulnerably and help others reach a level of comfort for sharing how they arrived at the place where they are, and we can tell how we arrived where we are. Being open to the outcome of the conversation, that you may not change their mind, they may not change your mind, but you can walk away from the conversation having built a relationship with somebody who thinks differently from you. And that is worth everything. Now you've built a relationship with someone who also carries the inner light. If we can carry on these conversations, avoiding implying that their values are based on ignorance or bias, rather asking them in a genuinely curious way about their views and why they hold them, we both stand to grow. This makes people feel seen and heard and like they belong. Listen respectfully to their answers and avoid using phrases such as "the fact of the matter is," or "let me tell you something," or "the reality is," or "you just don't get it," right? So with genuine curiosity, we're asking and responding and saying something like, "I hadn't seen it that way," or "that's interesting. Can you tell me more about why you think that?" So I have a few more ideas that came both from Dr. Cohen's book and some other things I've learned through Braver Angels to help us get through this next year without losing our minds. First of all, I've learned how to be very judicious in my media consumption. Remember that media, and especially social media, is a huge source of creating the maelstrom of loneliness and isolation we're all experiencing. I would suggest subscribing to a news outlet that shares both perspectives on any issue, such as Tangle or All Sides, and read information from both sides of the aisle so that you can be informed without getting sucked into the muck. Secondly, if you endeavor to engage in conversation with people about politics or just issues in general, do so one-on-one and or in very small groups, and do so in person, because that makes all the difference in the world. And remember to do so without thinking that you want to change the other person's point of view, right? Thirdly, start the conversation with an exploration of your shared values. You can ask your conversation partner what values they bring to their worldview, and you can share the values that you bring. This, starting from this place of shared values, helps open a door to a much more productive conversation than starting with the issue at hand. You can find lists of values online, and certainly we can put a link to one in the notes for today's lesson. But that was one of the recommendations in Dr. Cohen's book, was really just kind of starting from that place of shared values. What do you value about living in this country, and and that helps kind of drive the conversation. Lastly, I can't say this strongly enough: agree to disagree. Yet walk away, recognizing that this other person also carries the inner light just as you do. Let us be the salt and light in the political arena, advocating for justice, mercy, and righteousness. As we navigate this intersection of belonging and politics, let us be guided by the love that binds us together. In our diversity, we find strength. In our unity, we reflect the image of a God who embraces all. May our political engagement be characterized by grace, understanding, and a commitment to building bridges rather than walls. So as we depart from this reflection, let us carry with us a renewed sense of responsibility to engage politically with a growth mindset, seeking the well-being of all, and fostering a community where every member feels a sense of belonging, irrespective of political differences. So in 2024, we hope to bring more Braver Angels workshops to the community. And actually, next Saturday, I'm going to be moderating a Depolarizing Within workshop at Unity Church of the Triangle, I think is what it's called. Actually, Unity of the Triangle. And so if you scan that QR code, which looks very much like the one I showed at the beginning, you can actually register to attend that Depolarizing Within workshop. It will be from 9:30 to 12:30 next Saturday morning. And I'm hoping that over the course of this next year, we will be able to get together and have some events here in our own community. But I would strongly encourage you, if you missed our last one, to come to that one. That Depolarizing Within workshop will help you kind of learn the skills to depolarize yourself first, which is a really critical piece of this whole puzzle, is to learn how to depolarize yourself first before you start trying to work with others. So you can register online there. It is free. And I'm hoping to bring some other larger workshops like that, and then maybe some smaller events where we can get together and just have conversation. And I hope you'll avail yourself of these opportunities when they fit your schedule, and when you have the desire to learn and listen from others, and have others learn and listen from you. May the peace of God, which surpasses all understanding, guard our hearts and minds as we navigate the complexities of belonging and politics. Amen. Now, I want to end today with a bit about how important this community is to me, and this fits beautifully with the lesson for today. I, as Sue told you in the introduction, came to this community about 10 years ago, and I arrived not long after Doug's first book came out. So it was 2014, 2015. My very first time coming to a service was at the Ray Road facility, and Doug's book had just come out. The denomination had just kicked him out, and we were actually the first 4 Sundays that I came, Doug wasn't even there. He was on sabbatical, and so different people that work in the community or volunteer in the community were speaking. And so that very first Sunday, I picked up Doug's book, took it home, read it, and realized that this was really a place that I was very intrigued in. And the reason being that, how the different issues that Doug was describing, how he explored in his book, everything that I read gave me a sense of relief that someone else was questioning the same things that I had questioned, and that it was okay to not have all the answers. So without going into too much detail, I've always been a lifelong questioner of the absolutes I was told in the Baptist churches I attended growing up, being a lover of color in what felt like a very black and white religion to me. And so when I found NRCC, I immediately felt like I had found my people. And yet, it wasn't until, I think it was, we were kind of getting ready to leave the other church where we just left to come here. And Doug was really talking to our community about our commitment to the community and how that will require us to move out of our comfort zone to really get involved, right? Because I too was stuck in bowling alone mode. I was sitting at home afraid to invest my time and energy in a community because I had attended church, often sitting in the back pew. We were Baptists after all. And honestly, I've never been all in on much of anything. But I've very recently come to understand this reap what you sow thing. If I'm alone and lonely, that's partly on me. There's a community here that loves me, and all I have to do is put myself out there. So I have taken the steps to begin investing not only my treasure, but my time and my energy in this community. And I am so much better for it. I have met amazing people here who are not only my friends, but my family. I feel like I could reach out to anyone in this community if I had a concern or a need, and they would not only respond with love, but with compassion. And I've learned skills here that continue to allow me to grow, feeling more comfortable with the discomfort that comes from overcoming the stories in my head that the world is a scary place and I'm better off at home in my jammies. And for that, I am most grateful. Thank you.
Okay, in a few minutes here, we are going to do what we do every week. What are you thinking? With a little bit of sensing and feeling thrown in because I'm up here and I'm running it. Folks on the live stream, we're going to dismiss you in a minute. And since we're going to do this in the room, we want to let you know, particularly if it's the first time for you joining us, that we do What Are You Thinking online as well. You'll find the link to join in the comments there on YouTube. And if you have not done it before and you're a little hesitant, I just want to tell you, these are some of the best people I know who get on this What Are You Thinking on Zoom every week. And they're always looking for new folks to join them. They have wonderful conversations and have built real meaningful relationships just over time, getting together every week on Zoom. So find the link there. I just encourage you to push past any resistance you might have to join. You'll need to enter a code, and the code to get in is 1417. I hope you're not a troll. Folks in the room, let's dismiss our friends on the live streams by putting one hand on our hearts. And let's remember the theme today, the theme every Sunday really is that the divine is within us. And that means that the fruits of the Spirit, kindness, goodness, patience, peace, love, they're all in there. They're in each of us, and they're in everyone around us. And so let's raise our other hand to our community and to our world, looking for every opportunity we can find this week to share what is within us with the people with whom we go to work, go to school, with everyone we encounter, as we work to be healers and repairers of our world. Amen. Folks on the live stream, you are dismissed. Have a wonderful week. And folks here in the community, we are going to talk about what Cherie just talked about with us. And Jack has a microphone.